Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we're going to talk about the updates to the Cavalier difficulty of event quests that will be coming next week with the next set of events in February. Now, the changes are made in order to, based on what they're saying, make it a little bit quicker to clear the content. So they want to allow players to get through it with less time invested. And some of the updates might actually make that happen. However, some of them might actually prevent people from clearing it as fast. And part of that might be because we ranked up specific champions that worked well with the current nodes, and now those nodes are gone, and the champions we ranked up might not be useful anymore. So they're trying to reward the right champions and counters to get as much damage as possible. Now, we're going to take a look at each class just to take a look at what the requirements are. For Science, the nodes that we will be seeing include Vexing Blight, where you get an indefinite passive fury, increasing your attack by 20% every time you remove a poison effect. So you want to be able to remove a poison effect, or if you're immune to it, then it will grant you that fury, and Science champions are the only ones that can get this. Now, it doesn't mean you can only use Science champions, you just won't benefit from the fury, which will help to clear the content a lot quicker. The next one is Academic Constitution. So Science attackers reduce the potency of the defender's poison effects by 85%. So if you don't have a poison immune champion, you can still use them and take reduced damage. And additionally, whenever you dodge or perform a well-timed block, such as a parry, you will remove all of those poison debuffs or passives. So this essentially makes all Science champions capable of benefiting from those furies. If you get a poison on you and then perform a well-timed block or dodge, you will get that fury. So it allows more Science champions to be effective. Next is Contagion. Whenever a defender is struck or blocks an attack, there's a 20% chance to inflict a poison. So that's how you will obtain poison debuffs in order to convert them into furies. So any Science champion can gain poison debuffs, convert them into furies, and if they have poison debuffs on them, they're taking less damage from it. Now, the next one is Weak in the Knees. So the attacker is inflicted with a permanent weakness, and it reduces the attack rating by 50%. The weakness is only removed while the defender is suffering from a non-damaging debuff. So the best champions will be poison immune Science champions that apply non-damaging debuffs. You can use non-poison immune Science champions to still get those furies, but you also want to be able to apply a non-damaging debuff. If you can't apply a non-damaging debuff, you can still use the champion. You'll just be taking 50% or dealing 50% less damage. Now, if you're not a Science champion and you do not apply a 50% debuff and you're not poison immune, you're going to really struggle with this. But you can take in a champion like Hyperion, who is poison immune. You won't get the furies, and you will only be able to deal 100% damage if you apply an armor break. If there's no armor break or stun active, then you'll be dealing 50% reduced damage, but he will still work. Other champions that you could use, such as Ghost, you'll get a ton of poisons on you, which you can then convert to furies through Ghost's base abilities, not through the node, but then you'll still be dealing 50% reduced damage. However, Ghost has such high damage, it'll still probably be fairly effective. So you can see how the combination of nodes puts restrictions on various champion types and classes, but doesn't specifically restrict what you can use. The next one we're going to talk about is Tech. This one has Infectious Wrath. So tech attackers will gain an indefinite passive fury, increasing their attack by 35% whenever the defender tries to gain health while heal blocked, up to 10 stacks. Gaining a fury this way has a 1-second cooldown. So if you have a heal block that lasts 10 seconds and the opponent is trying to heal that entire 10 seconds, you will get your max stacks of 10 within that 10-second period. Engineering Fracture. Whenever a tech attacker inflicts the defender with an armor break debuff, the defender is also inflicted with a passive heal block for 10 seconds. So, tech attackers that do not have a way to heal block, but can armor break, will then still be able to heal block and get those Furies. So that broadens the amount of champions you can bring in. Next is Nanite Healing. Every 15 seconds, the defender passively regenerates 10% max health over 8 seconds. So this is a way for you to access that Furies with any defender. It doesn't have to be a defender that heals naturally on their own, because every defender will be healing every 15 seconds. So if you don't have a way to heal block or armor break, you're going to have to out damage quite a lot, because they're going to be healing significantly throughout the fight. And then Indomitable, the defender's healing abilities can't be reversed. Instead, they would just prevent healing. So the ideal champion is, of course, a tech champion that can either heal block or armor break with relative ease. Now, you can bring in non-tech champions, but you will have to have a way to manage the healing, whether it is by out-damaging the healing or by nullifying or stopping the healing, but you won't benefit from the increased Furies. So ideally, you'll have a tech champion that can do that, but it doesn't specifically restrict you from using other champions. Next is Cosmic, and the first one is Crack in the Armor. Each time a Cosmic attacker lands an attack, they have a 10% chance for each armor break that is active on the defender to gain a Fury, and it increases their attack by 35% to a max of 10 stacks. So you want to apply an armor break, and while the armor break is active on the defender, every hit has a 10% chance to give you that Fury. So Cosmic champions that armor break is the ideal situation. Next is Tough as Nails. Every 3 seconds, the defender gains a permanent armor up buff, increasing their armor rating, and it is reset if you hit them, and so you have to hit them every 3 seconds. Otherwise, they'll get an armor up, which you'll then have to break. And so you want to have easy access to nullify those armor ups if you can, or armor break to deal with them. And then Mystic Ward. Enemy nullify effects have a 70 or a 95% chance to fail. So nullifies will have a significant chance to fail, but things like a Fate Seal will prevent them from coming up. So my understanding is that those are separate from nullify and are not quite affected by this reduction. So you can still use any champion for this, but again, unless it is a Cosmic champion that can armor break, you won't get the benefit of the Furies. But as long as you're able to power through these champions with the regular base damage and deal with those armor ups, or just continue to damage through it, but that would make for some long fights. So what's nice about these so far, you're seeing the theme is it's not 100% restricting you to specific requirements, but it is benefiting you significantly if you meet those requirements. The next we'll talk about is skill, my least favorite personally. Skillful Distraction. Skill attackers prevent defenders' evade abilities while they are suffering from Disorient, Incinerate, or Shock. So skill attackers that have Disorient, Incinerate, and Shock will be the best for this. Now, there are not a large selection that have easy access to these debuffs. Mind's Eye. Skill attackers gain a Fury each time you prevent an evade from anything other than ability accuracy reduction. Most skill attackers have a way to reduce ability accuracy, but that's not going to give you those Furies. The only way to get those Furies is by preventing evade in another way, such as applying a Disorient, Incinerate, or Shock effect. Now, the annoying part here is can't touch this. The defender has a passive 50% chance to evade all attacks in addition to base abilities. That means that if you have a champion like Nick Fury that has Disorient on his level 1 or special 1 attack, then you have to get to that special 1 before you can stop the evades. And in order to do that, you have to deal with a 50% plus chance to evade. So every other attack at least is going to be evaded. Now, this is not too bad if you can parry and do your attacks during that, but if there's a node like Limber, it wouldn't be too bad to deal with, but especially if they are stun immune. If there are champions that are stun immune, this is going to be a really annoying situation. Now, it'll probably only be a couple fights, if any, and so you can deal with it, make it work, do a 1 or 2 attacks, and hope they don't counter you after an evade. And once you get to your level 1 with Nick Fury, then you can put Disorient, and then they won't evade anymore. You can really hit into them and gain those Furies and hopefully end the fight pretty quick. There are a couple skill champions that have quite easy access to Incinerate and Shock, and they will do quite well, such as Black Widow Deadly Origin or Massacre, I've heard, seems like will be a decent option. So there are some that might work well, but to me this is the one that might be kind of annoying. Now, you can use other classes that are really strong evade counters, because if you can just have a strong evade counter and shut down evade, then they won't be evading at all. You won't benefit from the Furies, but if you don't have other better options, then that's okay. So you either need a very strong evade counter or some of the few skill champions that will make this fight easy. Next, we'll talk about Mutant. Healing Factor. Each hit in the special attack of an attacking mutant champion has a 30% chance to grant a passive regeneration, which heals 2% of base health over 10 seconds. This is increased to 70% if the attacker has a prowess buff or passive. So ideally, you want a mutant that has multiple hits on their special attacks and can gain a prowess buff. So the next one is Relentless Mutation. Mutant attackers gain an indefinite passive Fury when they regenerate or gain a regeneration buff. So if you can get to a special attack and you have a prowess buff and you have multiple hits on it, every time you hit that regeneration buff, you're going to get a Fury in addition to that. So you could build up those potentially pretty quick depending on the champion. Just as Scratch. Every time the defender is struck, they have a 20% chance to passively regenerate 90% of the damage received over 0.7 seconds. This will not trigger if the defender's regeneration rate is inverted or if the attacker is under the effect of a regeneration buff or passive. So basically, there is every 1 out of 5 hits, they're going to regenerate 90% of the damage. So that's not too high of a healing, but it is going to be kind of annoying over the course of the fight if you're not able to shut down their regeneration and you're not able to be regenerating frequently. You can still get by with a strong healing counter champion, like Warlock, for example. You would be able to shut down the regeneration quite nicely, but again, you won't benefit from any of the Furies that you're going to get, and you won't be healing from the healing factor. But this one doesn't seem too bad to work around. I think there's several mutants that will benefit quite nicely from this, and then several that will be able to manage without too much difficulty. And finally, Mystic. Arcane Zeal. Whenever a Mystic attacker fills a bar of power, they gain a prowess, increasing special attack damage by 80% for 15 seconds. Nullifying a buff from the defender converts all temporary prowess into indefinite ones to a max stack of 5. What is a little bit unclear is if you get 5 permanent prowess, can you still build up temporary prowess every time you fill a bar of power? Because that could potentially amplify the damage significantly and could make for a very nice clear for certain champions. The next one is Persistent Pressure. So defenders under the effect of Unstoppable become stun immune. This includes unstoppable effects triggered outside of this node. Every 15 seconds, the defender gains an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds, and the duration of this buff is reduced by 0.5 for each prowess buff or passive on the attacker. So you can reduce it a little bit, but really you want a champion that can prevent the unstoppable from being triggered in the first place. Because if they're going unstoppable, that frequently it's going to be a really annoying fight. But someone like Dr. Doom can Fate Seal it, they don't get the unstoppable buff, and you don't have to worry about it. And that is a very easy way to convert your temporary prowess into permanent prowess if they go to trigger the unstoppable buff, but it's Fate Sealed or nullified. I'm assuming that the Fate Seal will also count for that, but that could be wrong. But champions that are very easy access to nullify effects and that can build power quickly, such as with Mystic Dispersion, will be a lot easier to clear through these nodes with. And those are the only two on the Mystic one. So this one, depending on which champions you have, like for example, Dr. Doom, you can fill a lot of bars of power quite quickly because that special 1 can steal bars of power. Then you can steal power as you're doing your light attacks, build up to a special 3, throw it off, push them to the special 3, steal more bars of power, and you can get up really quick. And most of those hits have the potential to nullify as well. Within a 15-second period, you should easily be able to ramp up very fast and end the fights quickly. So those are the new updated nodes that will be coming to the next Cavalier event quest, with some ideas of what champions to look for, and potentially I'll be making videos once it's released with different champions to think about, or the champions that I personally use. So I do hope this video was helpful to get an idea of what to expect and which champions you might want to choose to rank up depending on what your needs are in your roster to help you clear Cavalier difficulty more easily in the coming months. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.